guys, Sri Lanka Sammi. How you doing? Oh, what a beautiful day. It is a Tuesday morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. The sun comes up at like 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. The birds start singing. Really beautiful. Today I'm going to talk to you about my childhood. It's the little bakery truck that comes along. Anyway, I'm going to talk to you about how I got to where I am today. My childhood, my life, and just my backstory. A lot of people ask about, where am I from, where I came from, where I grew up, and things like that. So let's talk about that today. So I am Sri Lankan by birth. My nationality, my ethnic background is Sri Lankan Sinhalese. I'm the ethnic majority from Sri Lanka. My mother and father are both Sri Lankan citizens, and I was born in Beijing, China. My dad was a diplomat, and he got married to my mom and got transferred to or stationed in Beijing. So my parents got married and they moved together. My dad was introduced to my mom by my mom's eldest sister. They worked together. So they were introduced to each other. I was born Christmas Day in Beijing, and my brother also was born there as well. So he and I grew up there. Approximately 3.5 to 4 years we lived there. Sorry about the sunshine. So grew up there. Then my dad got stationed in Italy. On the way to Italy, we stopped off in Sri Lanka. So that was my first time in Sri Lanka. Got to visit with family and friends, etc. Relatives. I didn't have friends at that time. I was 4 years old. So all my relatives got to see me, grandparents and stuff. My mom's parents. And I think my dad's father. Yeah, at that point, my grandfather was still alive. Obviously, I don't remember. I was much too young. So this is my neighborhood. If you can hear that music. So after a short time in Sri Lanka, I went to Italy, and I grew up in Italy. Now I do remember a little bit about Italy. We were there for about 2 years, so till about 6. So I had first grade. Now let me take a step back. So in China, at that time, 1968 till 1972, that was Mao Zedong. That was the Cultural Revolution. There were no foreigners in China at that time, only communists. So you had Cubans, Russians, a few socialist countries from Africa, and Sri Lankans, because Sri Lanka was a socialist democracy and one of the first countries to recognize the People's Republic of China when they claimed independence in 1947-ish or whatever. So China and Sri Lanka have always had a good relationship politically. So you have to remember, if you remember your history, China at that time was a one-child country. So when my parents went out in public outside of the embassy grounds, with 2 children, it garnered a lot of attention, especially by the locals. And my brother having curly hair in a country that, you know, doesn't have a lot of foreigners was unique. So because all the employees were Chinese and I was not of school age, I played with the maid. We had a maid, and I hung out where all the workers were, I guess. So I picked up Mandarin. So I spoke Mandarin. I'm going to walk into the sun today instead of the other way, otherwise you're not going to see me. So I spoke Mandarin, and it was really unique to see a little brown-skinned foreigner, or hear, for the locals to hear a brown-skinned foreigner speaking fluent Mandarin. So people would always crowd around, is what my mom would say. It scared her a little bit because, I mean, she's a new mother, right? So it scared her a little bit, but it was safe. It was just an oddity for the local Chinese people. So then Italy, again, moved there, lived there for a few years. Went to school there, kindergarten, and I spoke fluent Italian. I actually got to be on a TV show with a famous, it was a New Year's or Christmas special featuring all the different children of the embassy staff, different countries, wearing their traditional dress. I got to go on, and the star actually picked me up and, you know, carried me. So it, you know, I got on TV. There's a picture of it, of me and her in my parents' house. It's very cool. Then my father decided, or my family decided, that all the traveling was not good for a young family, so my father decided to resign and emigrate to Canada. My father's eldest brother was a judge in Canada, Canadian citizen, so he helped us get immigration. So we emigrated, and within 2 years we got our citizenship. So I became a Canadian citizen. At that time, had to renounce my Sri Lankan citizenship. And so did my parents. I don't think they allowed dual citizenship in those days. So I became a Canadian citizen. I was 6 years old, and we lived we first lived in Scarborough. Then we moved to Mississauga. So we lived in Mississauga. I went to school in Mississauga. No, sorry. First we lived in Scarborough. Then we moved to Toronto. And we lived in the Italian area, Eglinton, Bloor area. So, I mean, I spoke Italian, right? So my mom got a job working at a bank right across the street from our house. She got a job within the first week. My dad got hired at Bank of Montreal. My mom was hired at, I think it was National Bank at the time. So, because she spoke Italian. I went to school at Earl's Court Public School. I remember it. And my first friend was Reno. I remember that. No, that was at Dixie Public. Sorry, I don't remember my school because I spoke Italian, and the teacher sent me home telling my mom that I didn't understand anything. So they stopped speaking Italian and put me in front of the TV to watch Sesame Street, and I guess I learned English. So then So we lived in Earl's Court, Eglinton area. Little Italy. Then we moved to Mississauga, and I started grade 3, I remember. Dixie Public School. Mr. Davis and my friend Reno. And I made a friend, Andrew Housley. I still remember my best friend. We lived on Dundas Street near Tompkin Road. Dixie and Dundas area. 1055 Dundas Street East, Unit 177, Mississauga, Ontario. So I was grade 3 at that point till grade 6 or 7. I went to Tompkin Road Senior Public School for 3 months, and then we moved to Bradford, north of Toronto, near Newmarket. And I went to Fred C. Cook Public School and made friends with a whole bunch of people. My best friend was Paul Bowles, Martin Harvey. Still friends with them on Facebook. I lived there, graduated high school in 86, 85. Went to Bradford District High School, then moved to Toronto. I used to hang out in Newmarket all the time, worked in bars and clubs, worked as a telemarketer, moved to Toronto. My first place was I can't remember the street name. Was it King Street? Or Queen? It was King or Queen Street East. It was on the east side near Carlton. Not a nice neighborhood, but it was cheap. 3 bedrooms, shared with 2 other guys. It was really cheap, really nice, and it was 5 minutes from my work. So I loved it. Started working for Bell Canada, worked my way up as a telemarketer. Then I moved to Queens Quay. Obviously I got promotions and money, and after a few years I moved to Queens Quay, an upscale condo. Met a woman who would eventually become my wife. I got promoted, moved to Milton, got married, bought a house, got promoted, moved back to Toronto, bought a condo, got divorced, sold a condo. I moved into a serviced hotel, One King West, one of the most prestigious addresses in Toronto, One King West, which I loved living there. Left my job at Bell and moved to a startup internet company, which I liked. Was there for a year, and then that's 2009, after I got divorced. When I left Canada, moved to South Korea. Moved to South Korea, lived there for 13 and a half years, which brings us to today, where I'm now, for the last 9 months, living in Sri Lanka, working online. So for the last 13 years, if you guys have been following me, you'll know I worked in the club business, running one of the biggest clubs in Seoul, and teaching, and then now teaching online. So I'm doing that, continue doing that, and I got some huge news coming. If you've been watching up till now, I'm gonna leak some huge news to you right now as to where I'm going next. This video will probably come out in October or November. or maybe sooner, I'm not sure. But huge news, January, Sri Lanka Sammi is going global. Where am I going? What country am I moving to? What am I doing? How will that work? Will I be coming back to Sri Lanka? Find out by subscribing, liking, clicking the bell icon, and following. Keep up. I will be making the announcement in November, I think, but you are the first to hear it here and now. I want to thank everybody for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting. Please comment. If you followed me so far, please comment. Comment here on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. I want that engagement. This is just my life. You know, I'm not really teaching you anything. I just like you to follow along. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you see, what you want to see, what you want to hear. And I'll keep you updated. Sri Lanka Sammi, living life. Learn to live life. Don't let life live you. I'm out.